Have fun. Good evening and welcome back to another edition of Beyond the Backstage Pass. I am your host, Vince Edwards. You may know me from Sound Image Productions. I also have a couple closed roadie groups on Facebook
Tongue twister.
called Death by Loadout and the Backstage Pass. Come check us out. With me this evening is my dear, dear good friend and co-host, Kyle Thomas. How are you, Kyle Thomas?
Great, man. Another day, another dog biscuit.
Oh, man. Did you get your dog biscuits today?
I sure hope so. We cleaned this place to a T.
I think we should tell the people that there was a need of this cleaning.
Yeah, so apparently after 10 shows,
Yeah.
cables build up when you don't remove them. So.
Yeah, it looked like a spaghetti factory had blown up.
A little bit.
It was nutty, man. It was a trip hazard pretty much for, I don't know, 2,000 square feet. It was pretty great.
Yeah, it feels good, though. Dusting off cases, getting things ready to be on.
Yeah.
Start moving again.
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of action, a lot of movement in the business. A lot of our friends on our groups are spouting about, hey, I just picked up a gig. Noah the Beard just, I think, came back from Florida.
fun anecdote about the late princess was that this explains my upbringing. The day she died, they canceled Hogan's Heroes to air the news.
That's rough.
Oh yeah,
that is rough.
Big time rough. I was actually just talking about this with my colleague today about need to get some Hogan's Heroes in front of my kids.
As Vinny would say, you're not wrong.
Yeah, it's funny because Hogan himself had a very colorful history, man. I know if you should. There's a movie about him with Greg Kinnear. You might want to check it out. It's called Autofocus. Right. It's insane the shit that guy was doing when he wasn't filming. All right, are we on right now? We are live, Jeremiah Karni. Let me get right back to you. And by the way, will you put something in my middle screen, Mikey? I got nothing. Thank you, baby. All right, peoples, we're back live. That's what they're telling me. We apologize for any interruption here. It's a goddamn live show, We just tore the whole building apart.
What a venture, huh?
Yeah.
That's cool. After 48 shows and, busting ass all day, I definitely wanted to go for a run.
Yeah,
real quick, so.
yeah. It wanted to do
Shit
what
happens.
it wanted to do.
It's technology.
So. What's that?
Fucking
Thank
beautiful.
you, buddy.
Here we are.
Yeah, okay, we're back.
Here we are.
We're back. We're sorry, guys. It's a live show. It does what it does. And like you said, after, 47, 48 shows, that's the first time we've had that problem. So we appreciate you guys hanging on, whoever still may be out there. And let's get right to it. Now, I wanted to speak real quick about our director's band. He put out a new album that's extraordinary.
Yeah. It was super solid. The band's called Arsa. It's a Celtic death metal band. You can check them out on Spotify. They just released a new album. It's fucking badass. Yeah,
it's ridiculous, you guys. He's the drummer for the band, and he's our director, our executive producer, and an extraordinary mix engineer. But as a drummer, my God, I don't know. It's like Swiss watch.
I don't know how his feet don't catch on.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's really nuts. It's incredibly well done. And he's an extraordinary drummer. And if you like fast, strong, heavy metal, check out Arsa on Spotify, iTunes, and places wherever you get music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you. Fuck what I have to say, because we need to get to this guest.
Can you just...
I'm shushing. I'm going to not get my dog biscuits today, so it's all right.
You didn't do nothing wrong.
It's all right.
You didn't do nothing wrong. We tore out 100 cables out of this son of a bitch.
Out of 47 shows, 48.
Yeah.
We haven't fucked up. That's never happened.
Remember the time I dropped my mic?
Well, other than dropping your mic, that was just funny.
Went down the back of my jacket, and we're like undressing on TV. It was awesome. Anyways, that shit's going to happen. Life in the big city. What are you going to do? Listen, I've been very lucky, and our guest has been very patient with us tonight, and you who may still be watching, thank you for being patient with us. But we have an extraordinary guest with us tonight. It's a friend of ours from the great Adamson Systems. He's an extraordinary systems engineer, and they're one of my favorite manufacturers in the world. They have some of the sweetest loudspeaker systems that are out there. Really extraordinary. He came up in rural Australia. He worked the whole sound gigs there, small clubs. Made his way across the pond, somehow made it over into Canada. He tricked some girl into falling in love with him. He got a cool-ass job with Brock Adamson. He's an extraordinary cat. He goes out and does, it gets all the systems right for bands like The Who and Queens of the Stone Age, some of my favorite bands. And we were lucky enough to have him with us tonight. It's the one, it's the only, it's Jeremiah Karni. How you doing, my brother?
Thanks so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure, on and off screen, as always.
We've been hanging out for like an hour.
Yeah, this is all I wanted. We'll turn the broadcast off again. We'll just hang.
You've been very patient with us. Thank you, Jeremiah. We really, really do appreciate it. And we're really grateful to have you on the show. It's been a minute since I saw you last. You were in here training up my crew to fly one of your Adamson Systems we own. But I think went out, in that case, with an Imagine Dragons tour for a really long run. It was like a 16-month run.
It did. It was gone for a while.
Yeah. And everybody loves your rigs. You guys have some of the best stuff. But we'll get into that in a second. Let me ask you how you've been keeping yourself busy during this last year. You've been growing hair, that's for sure.
Well, yeah. So, my biggest achievement, as I said, was growing my hair out. I had shaved sides a year ago, and now I have...
Shaggy DA.
Quite. Well, I wanted the audio guy ponytail.
Oh God, don't
Next
do that.
Next up is stonewashed jeans and some white white New Balances.
I'll tell you what, if I catch you out like that, I'm coming to Canada and I'm gonna correct you. I won't let you do that to yourself. You're too good of a man. I can't have that. It's just not. I just don't picture you that way. No,
yeah, right.
No, man, you're rocking it hard. I was telling you that earlier. I'm not kidding. You know, some people can pull it off. You're making that work. That's very cool.
Yeah, I'm just decided to go full hippie while we wait to getting back to do some shows. So when it hit a year ago, we went into just like you're doing now, webinar mode. And I think we burnt out a little early. I think a lot of the manufacturers did. We went pretty hard in the first 6 months, and then kind of took our foot off the gas a little bit, and let you guys take over with much more interesting content than just listening to someone drivel on about things that were not necessarily things that were going to be put in practice for a little while. And I kind of focused my energy on a drawing and all these projects that I kind of had to put aside when I was traveling, every other week.
Sure.
Pre-pandemic. So it's been busy. It's interesting, that's for sure.
Well, so the people know you do travel quite when we're working and life's normal.
Yeah.
Adamson sends you around the world. How do you like traveling? You a big fan?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I forgot what it's like. First off, but yeah, I did. Like the year of 2019, I guess it would have been.
Yeah.
I think I was gone every other week for a week, and since I've been at Adamson, I've been everywhere from back home to Australia, all through Europe. I mean, Asia, I haven't really hit too much yet, but that was kind of on the plan for 2020.
Sure.
So and it's quite a mix, And I was joking. I'm a little ADHD, so I like to do different things every day.
Yeah.
And the travel definitely kept that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. Very interesting. It's like one day you're training someone, the next day you're standing in a suit and tie on a booth at a trade show somewhere trying to stay awake.
Yeah.
And then the next day you're heading to Iraq fixing something that you didn't, that wasn't necessarily related to a system that you put in there. So.
Right. Yeah, no, I know that you travel quite a bit. How's it on? I was talking with Toby Francis recently, a sweetheart of a man. He's kind of notorious, infamous, incredible mix engineer for Kiss and all these other bands. And he was talking about, and he's going to come on the show, and we were talking about, the toll that the industry can take on relationships with all the traveling. How do you find that? Is it a problem in your world?
Oh, I don't think we have long enough. I know my kids have seen me more than they have in most of their entire life, and I know a lot of people have gone through that.
Yeah.
So it's been really good on that side of things. It's the blessing in disguise of being able to, spend a lot of time watching those little guys grow. But then then there's the, working full time and then still having them at school from home for a few months at the beginning of the year and a bit of last year. So, it gets pretty tense, man.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty tense.
Yeah. That's,
gotta take the breaks. I picked up running. That's been my break, in the winter in the snow.
Yeah, you mentioned you went out running today. It was like 30 degrees when you were out running.
Oh, yeah, it's cold.
Yeah.
You got to do it, man.
Yeah.
I think that fresh air is what's going to keep you going.
Yeah, good for you, man. Good for you. Let me, here at the show, we're interested in the origin story. I kind of dug around a little bit there in the intro of how you got into it, but can you fill that in a little bit? How you got in the business?
How far do you want to go back? Because
well, let's not get too far in the weeds, baby.
Well, no. let me paraphrase. Yeah. So it all started when I was born. No, I've always been into music. You talk to my parents who are still in Australia, and they'll tell you from a very young age, music has always been my passion. And I don't play music much anymore. But I did through school. But it all started when I went to university, like straight out of high school.
Uh-huh.
And that was when I kind of realized that I wasn't going to make it as a musician. I just didn't have the chops. I didn't have the, ability to sit in a room for, 8 to 12 hours a day just playing the one lick over and over again on a guitar.
Yeah. It can be a little repetitive.
Yeah, I know. I went in and studied music production, which is, I guess, studio-based course. And even that, sitting in a studio didn't quite cut it for me. I picked up random gigs working for the guy who ran the PA system at the university bar.
Oh, uh-huh.
And I worked for him like 2 or 3 nights a week for beer and pizza, man, for a year or two.
That sounds like a familiar story for sure.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. It's like it was never about money. It was always about experience. So that's kind of like been my go-to through life. That's where it started, and was gigging probably by like 19 or 20 like well-paid gigs. And it kind of like spiraled from there.
Very cool.
Spiraled, grew. I don't know. It went one way.
Yeah. Well,
kept going.
Yeah, it's definitely fair to say it grew. I mean, I know there was other steps between that and landing with Brock, but let's talk about Brock Anderson. I mean, he's a pioneer. He's extraordinary.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant engineer, manufacturer. What's it like working with Brock Adamson?
I got in trouble the other day because I couldn't keep up with the conversation. And I mean, that's on me. Like you keep up and you're going places that
You'll be fine.
Through working for him, I've had so many opportunities that I never would have gotten in my life, and I'm so grateful for that. And as much as he makes fun of me for occasionally dropping into the office on a Friday afternoon for a glass of wine, it's worth every minute of it.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, it's a special place. I mean, that as a manufacturer, they're one of the again, you guys are have a very strong reputation in the industry as one of the boutique manufacturers that makes an extraordinary product. We have some. Like any engineers, we have some of our favorites, and we were just mentioning to you how we just used one of your systems in here for a seed show we put on over the last weekend, and we whipped out your M12s for the wedges, and I swear those things every time, man, they're just flawless. They're just perfect. It's a really great system.
I mean, I started off as a monitor engineer in some regards before I got into system tuning and system teching, and I remember a couple of times rolling through on a tour and getting those and being really grateful because I knew I was going to have a good gig and everyone was going to be happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, at your job with Adamson, I think it's hard to nail down with a title what exactly you do, but the title that you've been given is applications engineer. What does an applications engineer for Adamson do?
Well, I mean, I've actually kind of stepped up a little bit in the sense that I'm managing a team of apps people, or I'd actually more say I'm collaborating with now, because I've got some great colleagues that I work with. But what we do is we're pre-sales support is one way of putting it, but we're also the problem solvers. Like we know the arsenal of equipment that we have and how it works with everything else, and we recommend the best ways of how it works together. But then a lot of it's troubleshooting.
Sure.
And being able to diagnose stuff without being in front of it is always a fun challenge.
Yeah, priceless thing though.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, you get me on the phone, and it's like 20 questions straight away. It's like, I'm going to ask you 20 questions. And I'm going to need you to answer all of them. Because that way I can place myself next to you in the room virtually. But, so it's a little bit of everything.
Sure.
Like there's a lot of, I mean, I would say that the biggest part of the job is system design. So,
yeah, I can imagine.
But and again, if you're like me and you work in the factory, and like some of the staff that we have around the world, I mean, I've done everything from building the first 100 S10s off the line to, testing things and blowing things up. It's like I'm like a kid in a candy store there.
I was gonna say that last part sounds kind of fun, actually.
Yeah, man.
Sitting in a dust cover across the warehouse, just launch a dust cover across. Super fun.
Oh, yeah. I remember when they put the handles on the back of the S10. They were like, "What do you think of these handles?" And I was like, "Wheel the cart of S10s to the doorway and just slam it into the doorway. Then they're gonna break first go." New handles.
So what you find out the real.
Oh, yeah.
You put them in the true life action, and out in the field kind of test.
Yeah.
No, that's
my counterpart at DMB. He always made the joke that we're there to break the stuff.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
Tell people how not to break it.
Yeah, and then come along later and fix some shit too once in a while.
Yeah.
yeah. That's definitely in your trick bag for sure. I know you've done that for us many times. I noticed I was digging around in Adamson stuff, and then I noticed you guys just you're putting out your first powered speakers, the CES series.
Yeah, we put that out. Well, I mean, here's the thing: you launch something in the middle of a pandemic, and you're not really certain how it's going to go. But
sure,
it's a really interesting product in the sense that it's a culmination of over a decade's worth of concept and testing and ideas that have all come together, and they've been tested for a really, really long time.
Well, 10 years in
they're
development.
Still being tested to a certain degree.
Sure.
For some of the customers that have actually been using them so far.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really interesting to see, and it's
the feedback good.
Oh, great!
Yeah,
great stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, the thing is like when you design something from scratch, it does exactly what you want it to do.
Yeah,
and
sure.
Yeah, that's been the most interesting thing to see.
Yeah, kind of priceless, definitely. Talk to us about you working with the legendary band The Who. I guess you go out once in a while and tighten up the rig.
Yeah, I mean, I had it's a funny story because I remember when I first, so I know all of the engineers from different kind of things, and I always thought it was a bit untouchable in the sense that first off it was a Claire account, and then it was an 8th Day account, and it was always a D&B thing, and then
sure.
I got into a conversation with the system engineer on that, and one day he's like, mate, I really would like Robert to try the E15. We had it a couple of times on a festival. We really liked it.
Yeah.
Can you help us out? And, I went along really as a comfort thing. The system techs that they had on that gig were all very well versed. And, shout out to Ben Smith, if he's watching, and Chopper and those guys. They do fantastic work. But, like when someone takes something new for the first time, when they're changing up something in their flavor, it's always a confidence thing to know that there's someone there to catch them if they fall. And, first shows went off. I mean, technically without a hitch. I know the band were probably struggling a bit. They did some new things on that tour. It was, they were bringing an orchestra out for the first time, and they needed something that had a lot of rear rejection. And, they were really surprised. They maybe designed this system that had cardioid subs, and I think they lasted about a week before they turned them all around because Pete actually complained that it was too quiet behind the PA. So, it was really fun like that. I got to see them at Madison Square. Actually stood beside Pab and Cosmo.
No kidding.
For that show. That was a good one.
Yeah, that had to be fun.
Oh yeah. So, really it's just a confidence thing, and go hang out with some mates, fly some PA because I love flying PA, and
yeah, you do.
Listen to some cool ass tunes, man.
Yeah, no, they're legends in the game for sure. Last time I saw you, we were doing a class in here for some of the kids to, like we mentioned, to fly one of your systems. We're getting them all checked out and make sure they were good to go so they wouldn't kill anybody. And you dialed them in, and I was talking to you, and you were on your way. You were leaving us to run out and go tighten up one of the European acts, Shawn Mendes, which I guess is a big deal, right? He puts asses in seats.
Yeah, he's a young kid from Canada. Like he grew up.
Is that where he's from?
Yeah, man, he grew up a mile from where I'm sitting right now.
No kidding.
And yeah, the young guy who was mixing that, Tom, had been teching in a venue that I just put a PA in, and we met and had a chat about it. And he wanted some advice on what to listen to and stuff like that. So we ended up taking this rig, and I actually got the pleasure of going and spending a week or so with them at Rock Lidditz, and then do the first couple of runs of shows with that, and then kind of just let them out on their own, and they had a great time.
Yeah, I remember that being a very successful tour.
It was. I mean, you win some, you lose some, because a couple of tours later they went to Claire, but we'll see what happens when. I know. We'll see what happens when touring comes back.
Yeah, hopefully they'll swing back around to the logical side of good. But yeah, you can't. It's hard to talk shit on Claire. I mean, they're very good at what they do, and they provide.
I've done a little time there, so
yeah, I know this.
I've got my experience, but it's. We'll see, but yeah, I mean, the tours that I did with those guys were a lot of fun, and they were the tours that really broke him from being a support act with Taylor to being his own thing. I was right there when he did his first MSG gig, and
you saw it
standing in front of house. He came out and said hello. Yeah, a couple of nights there, a couple of nights in Toronto, like really big gigs, and that was, it was nice to see this, really lovely kid, both Sean and Tom, the front of house guy, blossom into very successful people, and it's fun to watch them keep going. I actually spoke to Tom, just a minute ago about what it cost to buy a secondhand Bricasti, but that's a different story.
Hope you sorted that for him. I know you used to mix, or I think you did Mons for Broken Social Scene. What was that like?
Pure hell.
Not a good thing.
Oh no! I mean, here's the thing. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
but there were moments that were scary as hell, man. I mean, you never know who's going to be on stage. I mean, when you hit your stride with a tour and it's the same guys and gals every day, that got a little easier. But I mean, I learned so much doing that. Like every night, like 8 wedge mixes, 2 ears mixes, side fills on completely different gear every night.
Oh, so you were working.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I was part-time backline tech. I did drums and keys on that as well.
Oh, okay, covering
very little money.
Yeah, it sounds like.
But I took the experience, man. It was a lot.
Yeah, that's priceless in its own right. But it sounds like they had you on your toes for sure.
Yeah,
that's a great band. A lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I still see and speak to all those guys. They're all part of the family, really. So, I don't have to work with them, so it's not my problem anymore.
Well said. Definitely well said. Yeah. I know you did some time over in the giant Bonnaroo world. What was that about?
Well, I mean, again, that was like a bit of customer support because we had one of our large customers who do that put E15 on the festival for a couple of years running, and it was big and new for them, so they wanted again that comfort factor of knowing that there's someone there because their engineers were relatively new to the system, but also having a lot of touring engineers coming through and kind of gauging their reaction and doing a little bit of customer care on that. But I mean, I met so many fun people on that. I mean, I met Kenny Kaiser and so many people that I call good friends now that too many to list, and saw some great music. I got to see a lot of like my favorite bands on that. But it was fun putting a PA up and watching it for a week and seeing the range of different musics on it.
Yeah, and how was the feedback from the visiting engineers?
I mean, it's always really positive, but then again, like I'm wearing the company shirt, so you never know if people are like going to be too nice to you because you're there, or but there's always honest feedback.
Good.
It feels like a distant memory right now.
Yeah, right.
I'm not gonna lie.
I'm sure. It's funny you mentioned the company shirts the last time we were here, and this is a couple years back now. You brought some swag, like like a good manufacturer does, and I've got a lot of swag. I mean, I've got a life full of swag. It's kind of ridiculous, actually. Your shirt, for the way it fits and the look, is I'm kind of for the most part don't wear a lot of swag. But I actually love your shirts, the Adamson System Engineering shirts that you brought.
Those wing shirts.
Yeah, those were sweet, and I almost reached back out to you. I think I deaded one by accident or something, burned it or something, stained it, and I almost called you up. It was like I was going to call you up and say, Jeremiah, save me, buddy, send me some more shirts. But I controlled myself. I didn't do it. But I really love your shirts.
Coming in the mail.
You're very sweet. You're very sweet. That's double XL. I put on a few pounds.
Yeah,
brother.
You got it.
This COVID thing has not been good to me. got a lot more round, a little rotund.
Right.
But I'm working on it. Brother. Yeah. I haven't stepped up to the running in 30 degrees thing yet, but maybe
not for everyone. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's very impressive, by the way. The whole getting out there and getting your run on, and especially with the weather up in your neck of the woods up in Toronto. I can only imagine. I would think you're probably trying to run from the weather a little bit.
A little bit.
See if you can.
I mean, I make it to the border and they turn me around and send me back. So.
Maybe with the new leadership, we'll be cool with you just coming through.
Next one's to kayak across Lake Ontario, a covert operation to get in.
I'll meet you on the other side, man. We'll go have a drink. It'll be fun. So I know you write some of the training manuals for Adamson. What's the process with writing a training manual for Adamson?
Well, I can tie two stories together here because when I was when I started, there was a lot of previous training material that didn't make sense at the time. So I was tasked with the job of kind of cleaning it up. And I kind of sat with it all in front of me, just not knowing what to do. And then I went out and did that Shawn Mendes thing and got, the end user's perspective on how it all fits together. And I got home and I sat down for about 2 weeks straight and wrote a course. And, I swore as a kid that I come from a family of teachers that I'd never become a teacher. And then yet here I am. But, it's just like training's one of those fun things that it's finding something that's complicated, making it simple, and then finding the middle ground where it sticks. And, so it's fun, you know, and then tying in like different things, like finding ways of drawing pictures and diagrams to make them fun and interesting, and
sure,
it's become a labor of love. And you know, I think I wrote my first user manual within 2 years of being at Adamson, and then the user manuals are kind of spread amongst a group of us. But you know, it's nice to kind of have that, you know, brush stroke in a lot of the training material from this point forward. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And you say you make some of the kind of at a glance diagrams. Do you make those yourself?
Yeah, I mean, one of the few things that I've been working on over the last month and a half is actually SketchUp drawings for the company.
Oh wow!
Because it's easier to in-house it, but it became one of my passions of these like dioramas and being able to explain how systems go together. Being a kid who just loved Lego.
Yeah.
And building, like, I mean, even at the age of like 10, I was building stages and PA stacks and stuff out of Lego sets.
That's awesome.
You know, being able to take a tool like a 3D drawing tool like SketchUp and being able to explain a point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's a mix between like prediction software, drawing software in SketchUp, and all that kind of stuff, and then finding ways of making it look really cool. And it's like editing a kick drum for an hour.
Yeah.
Imagine that, but doing it for an animation.
Okay.
So, you know, it gets broken down into lots of little pieces, but you know,
sure.
It's fun, kind of like you're working on these little microscopic bits of a larger picture, and then
bring it all
the
together.
larger picture is and then the larger picture is what people see. But
sure,
you know, for me, I'm still looking at all the little like slices.
Yeah.
All of the frames.
Well, you're a details guy. I notice when you teach, you have a kind of a unique passion threshold, patience threshold. You know, you're a very patient teacher. I know when we had last training with you in here, we had a couple knuckleheads asking some straight up stupid questions, and you handled it like a pro. It was very impressive. I reach out and smack somebody on the back of the head, I'm pretty
I'm incredibly nervous talking in front of people. And one of the things was overcoming that. And like, I've got this new ritual, and I do it now because it's part of the joke, you know, like the first thing I say to people at the beginning of any presentation is, first and foremost, I hate speaking in public. All right, that's over with. I'm good now. I can talk.
Yeah.
I can talk for like 2 days straight and not stop. But then the second thing is kind of a bit of fun. It's like in all systems, 90% of all problems in every system are people and cables.
Yeah.
90% of that 90% is people.
Yeah.
And I say myself is included in that because we all make mistakes. And in that training environment, that's where you want to make the mistakes. That's where you want people that you're training to make those mistakes, because that's where you learn, right? I mean, we didn't get here. I mean, people didn't figure out what to eat without making the mistake of eating the wrong thing first. So
that's correct.
You know, it's finding that comfort level and being able to foster that environment.
Yeah.
And, you know, make a little fun of yourself. So you don't want to elevate yourself for people to think you're the only person that knows everything. It's like, everyone makes mistakes. I mean,
sure. That's
every single part of the training courses ever written was part of a mistake.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's really true. Yeah. Do you get into the integration side of your company's business? I think you went out and did something for Sony Center. Do you do installs?
Well, I mean, I've designed a lot of systems for people. Thankfully, I don't actually have to go and pull cables through conduit or do much in the rigging department, other than pinning some speakers together. But
sure,
a lot of design work, and that's really fun, because you've got to the design work's fun because you've got to really listen to what people want and need, and it's meeting that expectation in the best way possible. Yeah,
that makes perfect sense. Again, you mentioned you had trouble with. I've never seen that. I mean, I always thought you were just friggin' Johnny on it. You know, the way not really kind of the way you command a room is pretty neat, and people respect what you got to say, and you seem to be right on task. So,
Thank you.
I think you got that kind of nailed. But we all got this inner monologue that's telling us certain things that aren't beneficial to our ongoing concerns. You worked with Queens of the Stone Age. Now this is a band I go way back with, 1999, I want to say, and big fan. I'm not really a fan guy, but that's a band that I absolutely love. What's your experience with Queens of the Stone Age?
Well, again, a lot of these experiences are one-offs, or like, a little here and a little there. And I think, I'd like to hope that I'm going to actually get to see them use an Adamson system sometime in the future. We'll see. But I ended up, they will put the sound provider were putting the E15 on a gig, and they had someone flying in to system tech it, and the engineer hadn't used it. And again, it's that comfort factor of, hey, this guy's using it for the first time, or this person's mixing on it for the first time. They would really feel comfortable if someone from the factory is there.
Sure.
You know what? No problem. I've always, I grew up listening to Caius and Queens of the Stone Age, so happy to go and do it. And I flew out there, and I think it was actually in Boston, and it wasn't TD Gardens. It was like a smaller arena around the corner. And I got there and landed, and I got a text to say that the system engineer wasn't coming in, so I had to go and do it from scratch. And it had been a while since I'd called points, and I think the IA didn't particularly like my direction, so we ended up being short a few feet on our trimmer. So I learned a lot of lessons that day.
Yeah.
And I got to see one of my favorite bands, and
right on.
put it all back in the truck and flew home.
Yeah, such is the way of life. We gotta love them. We gotta love them. Mentors, we find that mentorship is critically important with some of the younger cats. We're very lucky to have some very knowledgeable, really sharp kids. I feel like they're different than when we were coming up. Maybe you're a younger man, but when I was coming up, we were kind of knuckleheads. Rock driven. We really loved the music. Maybe we played a little too hard. But now some of the kids are getting into the game, like Kyle here, my co-host, is an extraordinarily smart guy. They come a little pre-packed. They've already come with a batch of information, and then we try to pair them up with the Greg Prices of the world and the Brad Maddoxes. Have you had any mentors in your life that have helped you get to where you are now?
I wouldn't be anywhere that I am today without mentors. When I started at university, I think I was like 3 months in when I figured out that, the guy who looked after all the tech in the music department was the guy running the PA down at the club.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, you're struggling. I can see you need help. Teach me everything. I'll be your protege. And I worked with him for like 3 or 4 years. And, a lot of it for no money, just for experience. And he was, a big mentor. And, there's actually a couple of, other guys. There's another guy I worked with at a music shop. And the reason I use this example back in the past, because, this guy, he taught me how to sell in a music shop. And turns out he actually just bought himself a nice little S10 rig for his rental company in
cool.
Queensland, Australia. So, things come around full circle. And, mentorship's important. Even, with our applications team at Adamson, we definitely do a lot of peer review of each other's work. We all pull ideas in together and kind of, shoot the shit and find the best ways of coming out with the best ideas.
Yeah,
and
sure.
That collaborative effort is mentorship in its own right, but mentoring is very big in our industry, I think, and is very important.
Critically important, yeah. It's really the way to kind of make the stair-step process work. Go from one step to the next is kind of on the back of some of the old dudes that have been there, done that. Because I think some of the kids come in, out of the schools, and they have a sense, kind of a book knowledge of the game. But there's this other game that's going on besides the technical part of the process of being in this business, and so I feel like that's where the old guys have the benefits of maybe hanging with some of the old kids that understand the music business in some of the the pitfalls and some of the areas that can be a little tricky, and that's something that you can only learn from somebody that either knows it or going out and putting in the work. And so that's
For sure.
It seems critically.
It's
important.
a two-way street, man. Like
absolutely.
Two-way street.
Well, these kids all the time, they, my director over here, Mikey Brown, and Kyle here, out of nowhere, routinely square up, my idea on a thing. And I think we're always better off, all of us, when we, like you mentioned, what you do at Adamson, where you bring in everybody's brain on it and you kind of focus on a situation and come up with the best solution, the best answer. That's critical in our business. Absolutely. We're really fortunate. Yeah. I mentioned that you're originally from Australia. You're currently sitting in Canada. What?
That I am.
Now, they both speak a form of English. What, if any, are the major differences, say, between the lifestyle of Australian living and Canadian living? It's a strange question. I'll give you that right off the bat.
I mean, the weather's a polar opposite.
Yeah.
But the heart and soul is very similar. We're both born of the British Empire in some form or another.
Sure.
We both have very similar histories in that regard. I mean, I like it here. As much as I miss Australia, I miss my family, and I miss the warmer weather. I say that because it's freezing. Like Toronto is in particular, because I live in Toronto, is an amazing city basically because it's a multicultural hot hub.
Yeah.
There's so much going on here. There's so many different things, and to me that speaks volumes. It's I find Australia it's become a bit more of a police state over the last couple of decades. So some of the things that are legal here in Canada are a little illegal in Australia. I kind of like it.
Well, I think Australia recently, they might still be in it. I'm not following politics as much as I used to, but I know they had some very conservative leaders for a minute there, and then
Oh no, that's not changing anytime soon.
Really, is it kind of the nature of the continent to roll like that?
I think so. I think at this point in time, but again, I've been here on and off since 2007, so I mean, it feels like. It doesn't really feel like home, but it does. So
yeah. I like your prime minister. He seems like a nice, level-headed fellow.
He is. He pranked us for April Fool's Day.
What did he do?
Oh, he put out a press release saying he shaved off his beard, and we're all like, "But where's the information about the vaccine?" And then he was like, "Actually, it's a prank."
This is a young buck. He's got. The guys wanted me to do some kind of April Fool's thing too, and I thought, I don't really know how to do that.
we actually found two manufacturers do the same April Fool's joke. I won't name any names, but we were going through all. Yeah, they made the same joke about the same pre-delay processor.
Oh yeah, that's funny.
Yeah,
well, great minds, I guess, think very much alike. You used to work for. Help me with this. Is it Timber?
Timber, yeah.
Mm-hmm. What was that about?
He's an interesting character, and I think he's kind of disappeared a little bit, just due to some personal reasons. But they were this band that kind of showed up that had a song on Breaking Bad.
Oh, sure.
And I don't know if you remember the scene with the pizzas on the roof. If you've watched it at all,
I definitely watched the whole thing.
Yeah. There's a scene where there's like a airplane crash or something, and I just remember this scene with like a pizza falling on the roof of their house. I was like, that song sounds really familiar. And then I was like, oh right, that's this band that had been supporting us on the Broken Social Scene run.
Right.
So I'd met them through that, and I really, really liked the music he was making, and kind of for a little bit was able to play the fourth band member from front of house. And it was interesting for me because it was the first time I ever carried a console on tour. First time I did a little bit of tour management. First time driving across America chasing a tour bus in a van. It was fun.
Yeah, super fun.
So a lot of good experiences there. But again, when you like the music and you get the opportunity to mix for a band that you're able to be part of, you listen to the records a lot and you can shape what you're doing to match what they're doing, and a good bunch of friends at the end of the day.
Well, it sounds like a good experience. I've often thought that when the relationship is right with the front of house guy and the band, there is a kind of a fifth member vibe going on there.
Definitely.
The band could be not having their greatest night, and you can kind of support them a little bit from out at the board and make some magic happen, even if the magic's not necessarily peeling right off the stage. And of course, I can go the other way too. But it's
that comfort factor. It's just kind of it's that comfort factor. I think was the biggest lesson that I learned.
Yeah.
And you take it from whether you're mixing monitors, front of house, or in the job that I am in now, where I'm doing these applications gigs where I'm going out and supporting engineers. I'm the front of house guy for the front of house guy.
Right.
In some regards, I'm there to make sure that you have a good day, even if I'm having a shitty day. That doesn't matter.
No.
Like the same with the bands. You do monitors. You're there not to make sure that they sound good on stage. Because if band sucks, they're gonna suck through their wedges.
That's right.
You're there to make sure that they're comfortable.
That's true.
And that was the biggest thing for me for Broken Social Scene and Timber Tambo and any band that I've ever worked for. It's like you're not there to, and you know that's how I got the Timber Tambo gig. I walked down to them on stage at the first gig I did with them in London, and I was like, "Look, man, I'm not here to mix front of house. I will go and push those faders all you want. I'll have fun doing it, but there's no point in me standing out there if you're not comfortable up on stage. So let's spend the first sound check we ever did together on stage, making sure that you're comfortable, you hear everything, you're in your zone, because it's going to make front of house just a walk in the park. You know, it's just put the faders up at 0 and just kind of sit there and monitor it.
Yeah, that's really true. Yeah, good point. That's a good point. Now, I know you're in Canada, and you know all the countries are kind of dealing with this current problem, universal problem, and a slightly different approach. And so you might have a unique answer for this question compared to many others that we've asked. And I haven't asked this question in a minute because we just pulled it out of the lineup, but I feel like reaching to you in an international kind of context with your vast experience, your long time in the game, and kind of the international nature of the work you do. What do you think the future holds for our industry?
I mean, that changes for me on the day of the week.
See, yeah, I know.
You know, it's been a rough one this week. Again, I was mentioning that we've entered the third lockdown here in Ontario, the province that we're in.
Yeah.
I mean, I see us returning to work. I see us coming back in stages, and I think that's the right thing to do.
Sure.
You know, the one thing that, you know, there's a lot of positives that we have to look at, you know, to keep ourselves going. And the one thing that I keep saying to a lot of customers, because I deal a lot of people around the world, is that this gives all of the local markets the opportunity to become their own, you know, because we may not all be able to travel internationally like we were able to, you know, 18, 20 months ago.
Sure.
But that means that local musicians get a chance now to be the stars on their stage. So, for example, you know, Australia, again, I talked to a lot of buddies back there, you know, they're back to doing shows, and they're doing shows with only local bands. You know, they won't see any international bands sitting there until probably like June. I think Kiss, we're stated as the first band going down there. I can't remember. There was a press release.
Yeah.
But, you know, they've always had a really strong music scene, you know, very self-supporting. Sure. And, you know, Canada's the same here. The US is obviously, you know, a tour de force of, you know, talent and bands and stuff like that. So we'll see all of these local countries start to build up. So I look at this from speaker sales perspectives. It's good for me because we're going to start to see a lot of venues opening up. Hopefully, when, you know, as countries start to get back to some kind of normalcy, and a lot of local shows. So, you know, I think we're going to see an influx of, you know, creativity and music happening. And I think the biggest thing, you know, and I say this because I got young kids, is appealing to the YouTube generation that live shows are a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We have a little bit of education to do to our young'uns to remind them that, you know, when we get out of this, we're all going to go and see some bands and going to have a lot of fun doing it.
Well, you know, it's an interesting point you make about the education part of the youngins. You know, I've heard a lot of different answers to this question, very, very varied answers. And I think one thing that would probably seems like it sounds right to me is there's going to be some part of the population, the concert-going population, that might not feel comfortable for a minute. And so they may stick with the live stuff they see on, or the semi-live stuff they see on YouTube. But I imagine 80% of our audience will come back pretty rapidly. and it is a little bit of our obligation to the scene, as parents, people with young people in our lives, to express to them in some way that they could easily understand that there is no way to replace the live music experience. There's no other way but to go to a show and experience that feeling and that special kind of connection that can happen with, you know, music coming at you at 107 and, you know, SPL, and your face is peeling back just a little bit and you're mushing up against people and kind of swaying in that movement. And it's kind of it's a very special experience, and I really can't wait for it to get back and going. And again, I think Adamson's one of the best. I'm a fan of a couple manufacturers, but Adamson's right up there at the top with some of the Anya stuff and the stuff that we highly support. I really love what you guys do. I very much appreciate you coming out and spending some time with us. We apologize for the technical weirdness at the beginning, but you showed your that ever-present patience that you're famous for, and it was a great treat to have you on. We really, really appreciate it. Especially, we know you're about 11 o'clock in where you're at right now, huh?
Oh, this is still early. I'm probably going to work for another couple hours.
Good man. Hey, that's the ADHD. You always got like 5 things going on. So good for you. It was a great treat to see you, my brother. When we get I miss you, buddy. I want you to get that shot so we can get you back in America. So because I'm going to break something on one of my Adamson systems just so I can get you back in the house and we have a nice pizza party and hang out with friends. It would be great.
Can't wait, man.
You keep care of yourself. Be good. Thank you so much for coming on. It was great to see you. Take care, brother.
Yes, mate.
All right, pal. Well, that was exciting. I love this guy. He's really one of the nicest guys in the game. Sweetheart of a man. And
amazing story.
Yeah, he's just a great cat. And I can't say this enough about Adamson. They're extraordinary loudspeaker company. Some of the best gear in the game, and they're just absolutely wonderful. And he's a great steward of the product and ambassador for Adamson. And he really does travel the world. So we were very lucky to have him on this evening. Next week, we've got the wonderful, now, your teacher's coming here, buddy.
Who dat?
Jimmy Lyons.
Oh,
we're going to have the great Jimmy Lyons.
Gentleman.
Now, the guy we're having in next week, listen, I got, everybody knows I got a little bias towards the schools. I'm not a big fan. But there's a sweetheart of a man that's worked for me I've asked him to do many things. He's never told me no. There's nothing he could never not do that we put in front of him. And he's got the look of a rock star. I mean, there's just the way he rolls. Jimmy Lyons is a special cat. He is one of my favorite people.
We called it the Boston Strut.
Dude, he is a badass. Wait, you guys are going to see for yourself next week. He is a sweetheart of a man. He's extraordinarily well versed in the game. He's taught at Expressions. He taught both Kyle Thomas, my co-host, and Mikey Brown, and many others in my shop. I think he had Robotorama. I think he had Drew. Yeah, I mean, this is a long list. And he's an extraordinary cat. He's going to come in here and he's going to tell me why these tech schools are a good thing and what I'm getting wrong on that. I'm willing to be schooled on this. I want to know what it is I'm missing. And he's going to come in and he's going to extol the virtues of SAE and Full Sail and all these that are flashing the pan jerk off. But if anybody could do it, seriously now, I mean this now, seriously. Jimmy Lyons. Jimmy comes in here and he sits right there and he makes it make sense. I'm going to be changed on this whole subject.
We'll see.
Well, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm open to it. I swear to God, now I'm open to this. I want to hear what I'm missing. It's what it is. It's nothing against themselves. It's some of the knuckleheads that have rolled through here that have try to tell me how wonderful they are, and then I got to walk them around by the hand for the first 2 years to try to get them to know what the heck we're doing. See, I'm trying to be better with the cussing.
Filter.
Yeah, I'm not doing that great, but I am trying. I wanted to send a shout out to our loyal fans, our audience, let's call them. My beautiful wife, Pat O'Doul, John Del Rio.
See, John got it. It was an April Fool's joke. Don't even worry about it.
Clint Winsley, all you guys, thanks for being patient with us tonight. It went a little haywire, but, it's a live show and the shit's going to happen. If you like what we're doing, please hit the algorithms for us. Hit subscribe and like on YouTube. And we'll have Jimmy Lyons for you next week, Thursday, 7 p.m. And you please come and check us out. We'll promise to do a run through and make sure all the technology is working right so we can have a proper from beginning to end show. Until then, be kind to each other. Take care. Thank you.